Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Let's dig in. We got a little Stephen A. Smith to talk about, but he's got some good stuff here. I know I've been critical of him in the past, and I think with good reason, but when he says some good things, I gotta let you know about that too. Now it's a mixed bag. There's some things I gotta point out that it's a little disappointing, but we're gonna dig in. If you saw a video I did the other day about what Dawn Staley said, she was asked about Caitlin Clark, and she made the comment about how if Caitlin was playing how she's playing now when they selected the team, she'd be under high consideration, which we all know is absurd. Dawn Staley hates Caitlin Clark. That's obviously clear. It's been clear for a while. She couldn't bring herself to say Caitlin Clark is an MVP candidate. Even FanDuel has her third on the odds. She is the best passing guard in the WNBA. She leads the WNBA in assists. She is the best point guard in the league, period. Yes, even with Chelsea Gray. Right now, with the way Chelsea Gray is playing, Caitlin Clark is the best point guard in the league. So Dawn caved a little bit, but her hatred wouldn't allow her to just say she'd be on the team. And that also sets aside the fact that you're then saying that you judged her on her first few games in the WNBA and not on her 4-year career at Iowa, where she led the nation in assists 3 seasons in a row and became the all-time NCAA Division One scoring leader. But you just did it on those first few games where they played 11 games in 20 days, 8 of them against what, the Aces, the Liberty, and the Sun, and that's what you judged her on. And don't get me on that nonsense about the camp that she missed that you set for Final Four weekend, which I've already destroyed in another video because that's not mandatory. She doesn't have to attend. You could have picked her anyway. And Chelsea Gray didn't attend either because she was hurt. But let's dig into the Stephen Smith stuff, talking about that comment on Dawn Staley. As we know, the USA whipped Japan 102-76. They took advantage of their height privilege, which I'm not sure in this day and age why they were allowed to get away with that. But oh, I tried not to laugh. I tried not to laugh. I tried to keep it serious because if I did, there were people that would take me seriously and be like, yeah, man, absolutely height privilege. How come they're allowed to do that? Anyway, so it was a terribly attended game. Terrible. The attendance out of the first matchups, 6 games, it was by far the worst. 4 of them were 20,000 plus. I think it was Serbia, Puerto Rico was like 15,000 plus, and then the U.S. game was at 13,000. So Stephen A. Smith, once again, questioning the committee's decision to select Caitlin Clark, as he talked about the attendance and how low that was for that game for Team USA. He talked about how much better it could have been if you had a player like Caitlin Clark, and he's updated his rant from earlier to now start saying and Angel Reese. My guess is because he thinks maybe he'll get less backlash. He talks about the draw that they are and the increased viewership that they could have gotten by helping to fill the arena. Yeah, and here it is. It was Serbia, Puerto Rico, was next to last with 15,324, still over 2,000 more than what the U.S. drew. And then the next game was 20,000. There were 4 games of the 6 that were 20,000 or more. Yeah, here it is. For the 6 opening games, I'm getting ahead of myself. Drew over 20,000 fans. This had some observers wondering if the presence of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese would have the stands packed for Team USA. Man, I tell you what, I have to give kudos. I have to give props. I have to give a shout out to Angel Reese for attaching herself the way she has to Caitlin Clark, with, of course, the media's help because they like that idea. Because now they're doing it for everything. And he went on to say, as he does here, you had the All-Star game, which was 3.44 million, which is an increase of over 300% from last year, which I think drew 800 and some thousand. I can't remember the exact number. It was 800 and some thousand. You have the top 12 WNBA TV broadcast games, all Indiana Fever games. The Fever have, as I said here, they're averaging over 16,000. I believe it's 16,800 and change. Over 4,000 more than the next closest team, which is the New York Liberty with 12,700 and change. And that skewed a little higher because they had a couple of games against, I believe, a couple. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the Fever played in New York twice. The first time they set a record gate in terms of revenue. But I believe they've, 17,000 and 19,000, I think, were those two games. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I might be off a little bit. But that, of course, skews the Liberty number a little higher. So for those of you that don't remember where this is coming from, is back when this team was selected, Stephen A. Smith came out and said that Caitlin Clark should have made the team for strictly on non-basketball stuff, on the popularity, on the viewership, on the eyeballs, on the marketing and business opportunities. And while I don't disagree that that would have been part of it, I said at the time she should have made it strictly as a player. Stephen has not gotten off of that, as we'll see here in a minute. At that time, he was savaged by the media, by the likes of Molly, and by the likes of Andrea Carter, and by the likes of Monica McNutt, who attacked Stephen A. Smith for that. To the point where after that, Stephen had kind of gotten back in line and kind of just towed the narrative line on the WNBA and Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and all that stuff. And you can even see it here a little bit because at the time he wasn't saying Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, which is what he is saying now. And then just last week, after the All-Star game and the MVP performance by Enrique, Andrea Carter went on First Take with Stephen A. Smith and started talking about how these types of teams, men's, women's, all of them, are never just decided by ability. It's never just about on the court. There are other things involved, including politics. Which, of course, and I agree with him here, I don't agree that Caitlin shouldn't have made it as a player and only made it for marketing, but I agree with Steven for getting upset and saying, well, wait a minute, hold on, back up. I said that when the team was announced with regard to Caitlin Clark, and all of you came after me and you attacked me. And by the way, the bells went off for the women because Molly panicked. You could hear it in her voice trying to interrupt Steven. Well, no, Steven, don't go there. Don't, Steven. He said, now, Molly, I'm talking to Andrea. You just be quiet. And then Andrea panicked too. She never did answer the question. She obfuscated. She started talking about other things. She got condescending. Oh, Steven, you're too intelligent to talk about this, Steven, because she knew she was caught. He called her out, rightfully so, and he embarrassed her because that was not her tune when Stephen A. Smith said Caitlin Clark should have made the team when you took into consideration non-basketball issues. Now, I say forget the marketing. She should have made the team at the time anyway. But I did want to play. I thought this was really interesting to his point. So I want to play this brief clip about the Olympics. Not from the competition side, but the rest of it.
See, we want to act like marketing and business don't play a role in all of this. Have you ever been to the Olympics? Do you know they'll remove you from events if they have a sponsorship deal with Coca-Cola and you drinking a Pepsi? I would know. I've been to two of them. I covered the Olympics in Sydney, Australia in 2000. I covered it in Athens, Greece in 2004. I would know. I ain't been back since. Don't want to go back. I can't stand the Olympics. I'm not talking about the games. I'm not talking about the competition. I'm talking about the way the Olympics treats people.
So I find that very interesting because that is to his point that ultimately everyone involved in the Olympics spending money need to get that money back, and they need to make money. Tickets need to be sold. People need to show up to the events. That is just the reality of it, which is the point Stephen A was making, which is what we've seen with Team USA and their attendance in the first game. So I got one more here for you. I think two short ones, but they're pretty much back to back. So let's hear what he has to say about this.
because you're doing business with everybody and you're milking every penny for all it's worth, every chance you get. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's why you should have had Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
Now, that was to tie on to the beginning of it. Sorry about that. I forgot I had the finishing part of it. But I also, if you heard that, and Angel Reese. Did you see how that's and Angel Reese now? Does he forget? Because the part that I showed you in the article is earlier in the video. It gets tricky how much of videos you can show with this stuff, but the the 12 highest rated broadcast games, all Indiana Fever. He talked about the attendance. It's not even close. Like Indiana Fever is like 25% ahead of the next team, and all their numbers will be lower except for the games they played at home against the Indiana Fever. And I didn't mention that, as you all know, the Fever had already set a record for home and away attendance combined in a season, and they still have 14 more games to go. And he's gonna give me this nonsense about and Angel Reese and Angel Reese. Let me ask you this: if Caitlin Clark won the Olympic team, Stephen A, do you think the attendance will be different? Of course you do. That's your point. If you think it was just Angel Reese, not Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, just Angel Reese, do you think the attendance and the attention, because we've also seen how very few media are following this team and asking these players questions. If it were just Angel Reese, do you think the attendance and the attention would be the same as it would be if it were just Caitlin Clark? No. The answer is no. That's why you want them both together. That's why you want them both together. All right, let's keep going. I think I have one little bit left I want to show you.
Because they are a draw. I never once said that Caitlin Clark should have been on the team ahead of the 12 people selected ahead of her. Because
Okay, now see, that's the problem. That's the last bit I'm going to play, but that's where I really take issue with it because she's the best point, and I know she wasn't at the time. However, do we forget? Oh, and I had it, and now I can't find the file. But there was, there's a big deal about how everyone talks about how much Caitlin Clark struggled. Right, she struggled in the beginning of the season. She was struggling adapting to the WNBA. She was struggling adapting to the WNBA, the physicality of the WNBA. Everybody remember that? Yeah. Okay. And the reason I say that is because I won't even say, yeah, based on what she is now, she should have made it. But based on what she did in 4 years of college and the little bit in the WNBA, she should have made it. Because while everyone likes to go back and likes to say that she struggled in the beginning, let's not forget that the struggling Caitlin Clark was the fastest player in league history to record 200 points, 75 rebounds, and 75 assists, and she did that in her first 15 games. Does that sound like a struggle to you? Now, was she playing as well then as she is now? No, of course not. But to say The fastest player in league history to 200 points, 75 rebounds, and 75 assists was struggling or playing badly is absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. So, I give Steven a credit for coming back with this again because this is something he got destroyed over when he first said it. I would have liked him make a better case for Caitlin Clark, the player, and I would have liked for him to just leave it at Caitlin Clark and not trying and cushion it a little bit in terms of how people are going to react to him with backlash by sticking Angel Reese's name in there. And one more thing about the pick that I have to mention because Keyshawn Johnson on Undisputed the other day when you have Paul Pierce, Keyshawn Johnson, and Skip Bayless. And by the way, shout out to Paul Pierce because he stood strong in that. He stood strong in that Caitlin should have been on the team. When Keyshawn was whining, doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, she's a rookie. And Paul came back, well, yeah, Deanna Taurasi was a rookie and Brianna Stewart was a rookie. And I think there were a couple other players that he mentioned that were also rookies. And then Keyshawn kept saying, he said it about 15 times. Well, the camp, but she missed the camp. Again, I did a video on the fact that she didn't have to be at the camp for them to select her. And oh, by the way, Chelsea Gray missed that camp because Chelsea Gray was out injured. Chelsea Gray got put on the team in June. I believe June 11th was when the roster came out. She had not played a basketball game since October because she had a serious injury, which I believe was a torn Achilles. But they picked her. So don't give me that nonsense. And then, by the way, after Keyshawn and Skip Bayless ripping on Caitlin Clark that entire segment, they both admit that was the day of the Japan game. They both admitted that they probably weren't going to watch the game. They didn't really care to, but they would have watched it if Caitlin Clark were playing. You can't make this stuff up, folks. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about Stephen A. Smith. Do we give him some credit for coming out and saying this? Did he not go far enough? What do you think about it? Please, if you're enjoying the content, I do appreciate if you like and subscribe. We're creeping. We're like 20 shy of, I think we're like 20 shy of 6,000 if I have that correctly. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe if you are enjoying the content, and I will talk to you later.